I'm Angela Morabito with Campus Reform, and today I have 5 big questions for Alabama Representative Ed Oliver. Representative Oliver hails from the state's 81st district, which sits between Tuscaloosa and Auburn, 2 of the Southeast's most famous college towns. Representative Oliver is the author of a new bill about critical race theory. Representative Oliver, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's our pleasure. And so please tell us a little bit about this bill.
Well, House Bill 9 pre-filed in the Alabama legislature. I'm hoping we can get it to the floor shortly after we reconvene January the 11th. And I can give you the brief little summary so we all know what we're talking about. It's a bill that would prohibit this state or any of its political subdivisions or agencies, and that includes contractors and subcontractors, from teaching certain concepts regarding race or sex in certain training. What it does not do is it doesn't interfere with First Amendment or teaching any particular thing in a class. It just says we don't adopt it as doctrine and we don't indoctrinate our children or our adults. This bill would require the Department of Labor to review training programs for state agencies that pertain to diversity, inclusion, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And the way I've got it written in the bill is a little different. But just for our understanding, anytime you see that anywhere, it means exactly the opposite.
When you talk about government agencies and government contractors, what was the importance of including contractors as well?
Government agencies will contract or hire a contractor to come in and do this type of training. It's very frequent, happens in virtually every state agency, and a lot of times they don't realize it. Even in schools, they will hire somebody to come in and operate their Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion without understanding what they're really doing or what they're teaching. All of a sudden, I think most of us are starting to figure that out. When you see DEI in critical race theory, remember, you're talking about the same thing, which is saying that one race is better or should have more things than another. Obviously, that's what we're fighting here.
These concepts are so divisive, and so much has been said about the harm that it does to children. But your bill impacts college students and adults too. So what is the harm that's being done to the adults here?
I think we've created a whole generation of kids that got a participation trophy. They do not understand what meritocracy means. And not all kids, there are a lot of good kids in the world. But I know that I look at our flagship university here, and I'm very, very concerned, even the University of Alabama, which is how I became interested in this from complaints from my constituents. Long before I knew what CRT was, I was seeing the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and people having these contractors come in and give classes, which were generally designed to single out kids that did not follow the group thought. Obviously, I'm against that, and I think that's just absolutely insane in a free-thinking environment to not let people have a thought that's different from the rest of the group.
I'm glad you mentioned a free-thinking environment, because whenever a conservative talks about critical race theory and restricting it, as I'm sure you well know, the left's retort is, well, what about academic freedom? So tell us a bit more about what this would do to private institutions, or if CRT would be able to be taught or examined at all within the state.
In a private institution, I'm not real sure how you would approach that, to be honest. I would say that anyone that receives government money, we would have some influence. Once again, I've got the Department of Labor, and I think we will probably end up amending that to the Department of Personnel, will actually be the watchdog for compliance. Of course, in Alabama, we have our school boards. That's your lowest level of discipline. And there is no special penalty for teaching CRT. It's just like any other thing that a principal tells you to quit it, and you don't, and he writes you up twice, and it goes up the chain of command all the way to the Department of Personnel. So there's not we don't take people out and execute them. What we hope is that sane people will act like grown-ups and teach things that we want taught as opposed to things they feel that are their opinion. We're trying to stop indoctrination. We're not saying you can't teach anything in a class or discuss anything like adults. The First Amendment is critical to me, and I do believe that the speech that you want to protect is the speech that you hate the most. And I think that's important. We're obviously losing that as well on our college campuses and within our school, because I think one of the main problems we have is kids feel pressure to be part of this group, and that makes the indoctrination just that much more effective.
How would this bill protect faculty members as well?
Faculty members are just like anybody else. And I would tell you, I've probably got 60 faculty members at the college level that I converse with weekly, actually organized into a group to fight CRT that are helping me with this bill. And these are college level, bright people. And some of them are left of center. They understand how dangerous this is for this country to succeed if we are going to indoctrinate ourselves and just take ourselves right down the road to Marxism, where that's the other name for DEI. When we talk about diversity and equity, of course, is just, you might as well write Marxism, scratch it out and write Marxism. So, yeah, I'm not worried about that particular piece.
Seems like CRT is everywhere you look these days, but should House Bill 9 pass? Maybe not anymore. Representative Oliver, thank you again for answering 5 big questions.
Thank you.